We are taking charge of every facet of our lives, and this is Take Charge with Sophie. My name is Sophie. In the last episode, we talked about the need to drop the blame game and the excuses, no matter how factual and how true they are, so we can take charge of our lives. In today's episode, we'll be talking about planning. We need to plan in order to achieve all our dreams and aspirations. But what is planning? Planning is actually putting structure to your dreams and aspiration. How do we go about planning if we don't audit what happened in the previous year? The interesting thing is that a lot of us are very quick to analyze and come up with what is wrong with the next person. But we find it very difficult actually auditing our own lives to know the things that we did right and the things that we did not do right. But in order for us to win, we need to be very true to ourselves, to hold ourselves accountable with the same measuring rod that we measure others, so we can be able to know what we did wrong in the previous year, what we did right, what can we build on, what should we drop, and all that. So now we are going to start planning. We are going to plan based on the fact that you know where you are coming from and then you know where you want to go. So we want to start with why we should plan. Even God, with all the powers that he has, with all the authority, he actually planned. When you look at the creation story, you realize that God created everything else that Adam and Eve needed before he brought them into being. So Adam and Eve had water to drink when they were brought into existence. They had fishes, they had food, they have everything that they need to make life meaningful. So you realize that even God, with all the authority that can command anything into existence at any given point in time, he was also very methodical and very scientific in all that he did. And as human as we are, there are lots of limitations around us. So if we need to plan, it has to be done scientifically. So we need to actually plan for every facet of our lives. So let's say that you segregate your life into maybe 4 or 5 quadrants. So the first one would be, for me, family life. So if I need to plan for my family life, family means different things to different people. Maybe for me, my goal will be to make sure that I have quality time with my children, my spouse, and people who are close to me. Maybe yours could be that, okay, your family goals will be to ensure that there's peace in the home, there's enough money to cater for the needs of all the people that you love. So that may be your family goal. So whatever it is, just be specific with, okay, this is my family goal. How am I going to measure it? So for me, if I said, I want to spend quality time with my family and my loved ones, it means that my success in achieving that will be determined by whether or not I can establish that over the period from the time I set the goal, I've taken steps into ensuring that there's quality time with my kids and the people I love. How about money goals? Money goals are very important in all the goals. You cannot set goals with money. A lot of things that people plan are achieved using money. If it's even health, education, whatever, it needs a lot of money. So what are your money goals? For me, all I wish and pray for is that I have enough to take care of my immediate family, my extended family, and contribute to support society in the little way I can, not only through motivation, but also give some substance to help someone have a meaningful life. That is mine. But you know how important money is. Money is like vitamin M. If you wake up in the morning and you see a Momo alert, you just start smiling. Even if you are not in a good mood, you smile, you start singing. So money goals are very important. You cannot plan your life without having any money in your life. You know, sometimes some people say that, oh, and then I'm feeling fine, I'm not feeling so well, meaning that they don't have money and all that. Or I'm not in the mood. I'm not in the mood means that they don't have enough money, and in fact, they are thinking about how to sort themselves out. So we need to be very specific. How much money do you need? And what amount of money can give you that financial independence you are seeking? And sometimes I always say that just have it. You can't just start from maybe you have hundreds of CDs and then you are jumping to be a millionaire. That would be too outrageous. You have to be very realistic in the kind of goals, money goals you set. Maybe you have hundreds. Maybe you want to aspire to have a bit of some thousands in the short term. Medium to long term, you increase the thousands and then hit 1 million maybe in the long run, or in the millions in the medium to long term. So set goals so that you don't get so drained if you don't achieve them. The next one could be for health goals. Health is wealth. If you wake up and you are not feeling well, you can't go to work. No matter how many contracts you have to sign, no matter the job interview you have to attend, no matter the kind of business deals you have to settle on that day, if you are not well, you cannot get to work. So you can't plan your life without health goals. So you need to have goals for your life. First of all, you need to check, so what do I do with my health? Maybe if you don't normally do checkup, you at least once in a year do a routine medical checkup to know how the important figures are looking at your sugar level, your cholesterol levels, and all the other levels of things that can give you headache. When you get to know that the levels are beyond the normal threshold, you should look at that. Maybe for me, I'll say I want to shed some few in kgs. I want to lose some weight, so I need to have weight loss as part of the goals, my health goals, because if you have a reasonable weight, you are relatively healthy. I need to also think about, okay, maybe my diet, my exercise regimes, XYZ. So those are maybe possibly a health goal. What are your health goals? Everybody needs to have one. Sometimes we set goals, we are only looking at passing our exams, we are only looking at getting the promotions and all that. But where is promotion without a healthy person? So we need to take our health goals very seriously. So include it in your plan if you don't have that. Spiritual goals. I believe that we are spirit, soul, and body, and God rules in the affairs of men. You cannot have a meaningful life without having a solid spiritual life. So it's very important that you get closer to your God. You should be intentional about your relationship with God, because like God intervenes in the affairs of men. How do you connect with your God? For me, maybe through prayer, the study. Or if you pray, that means that I'm praying to engage in a conversation with God. I can go to him with my problems. I believe he's listening to me. He can tell me a few things that will allay my fears when I'm worried, that I can read his word to know what God expects of me and what kind of directions he's giving me for my life. And then I'll try to live by them. It's not enough knowing. When you have knowledge and you don't apply it, it's of no value. So I want to live my life at least within the dictates of what I've read in the word of God. I'll fall sometimes, but I'll rise again. There's always something to look at, come back to. So we need to have plans for our spiritual lives as well. So the next quadrant of our lives we need to actually pay attention to and actually set goals and plan for them is our education. There's no end to education. We keep learning every day. So you keep reading, feeding your mind with good things. There are some education we need to do that we don't really acquire certificates for, but the knowledge is enough for you to articulate it in meetings to get the needed career rise or whatever it is that you are looking for. There are also some education needs that needs finance. You need to actually go to school and get the needed certification to confirm that you have done this or you have done this. So we need to plan for our education. What courses do I need to do? Then you know how much will it cost. Then you know which school do I want to go. Now that we have people going to school at the same time working, so you also have to, once you are planning your education, you need to plan which of the schools schedule are favorable towards your career, so that you don't just focus on I want to go to school without really checking if you will have challenges along the way. Because if you don't check that, you start and then at some point you stop, because the schedules are not favorable to your work and all that. So you need to have solid educational goals, plan very well before you take a step. You actually know where you are going, what challenges there are, and what plans you have actually put in place to overcome them. And sometimes we try to think that education is all about the academic one, but you can also go in for a technical and vocational education. It also helps. It's also learning. Every learning is education. So try and go in for some apprenticeship. Maybe you're already a graduate. You are thinking of, having a side hustle. How about going in for an apprenticeship, or maybe doing makeup, or maybe doing wig cap, doing something so that it actually adds to whatever value that you have. The next goal we want to look at is career goals. We all get up and we go to work in the morning. We want to be recognized by our employer. We want to be promoted. We want to be respected by our colleagues and all that. But these things do not just happen. Remember, you are in the office space with people who are equally good, and some are more talented and more resourced than you are. You need to identify your career goals, find out which niche you want to carve for yourself, so that you can start hitting the nail right there through your training, your everything. You have to be very intentional about your career growth, so that you don't leave it to chance and be blaming your boss for not maybe doing certain things for you and all that. I know that there are times that a lot of us do all the things that we are supposed to do, but do not get the needed career rise. So that's when maybe your plan B will come in. Do I need to exit the scene and go to another scene where my skill set will be respected and all that? So you have to, it is not enough coming home whining and complaining to your spouse and your loved ones and your pastors and your church leaders about how unfairly your employer or your immediate boss is treating you. You need to actually take steps on maybe how you can close certain chapters of your career and move on to the other. So we need to take charge. It is not enough to complain. We need to actually own our career development. Now, our social lives. You cannot get up and just have a work, school, family, and that is it. There's a bigger benefit to belonging to a society of people who are having a solid support system. It really helps. So you need to actually be intentional about not turning your back on your old schoolmates from JSS, even primary, secondary school, university, the professional courses you are doing and all that. They can't all be your friends, but try and accord people the needed respect when they contact you. Be interested in people. You know, sometimes a lot of us actually join these groups and all that so that we can benefit from the expertise and also all the important things that the group can offer. But we don't always think about having a mutually beneficial relationship with people within our network so that we can also do something for them, so that all the time so once you become very intentional about the need to have a solid social support, solid social network, then you begin to be very intentional. So how good has my church been to me? Church is for spiritual development, but over there you meet a lot of wonderful people who move from just church members and become like families and all that. So if you become very intentional, then whichever group you find yourself in, maybe even your neighborhood association, you can't be friends with everyone, but 1 or 2 or 3 people that you can trust to some extent and have like a casual relationship with, be there for them when they need you and all that. If you have that kind of thing, it actually helps, because life is very stressful. Sometimes everyone is busy running their own race and they forget to even look at the next person, whether the person is crying or the person is actually depressed or stressed. You hear a lot of people, even sometimes entertainers, committing suicide, and you ask yourself, what happened? Did they not have anyone to talk to and that kind of thing? So sometimes you need and it's not something always, you need a solid social network in order to have a meaningful life. So you at least have one. Some people think that all their family members are not good, and some people even think that all their siblings are not good, but they can't all be bad. It's just that we have so much expectations of others, and once they are not met, we classify them as not good. So at least lower your expectations when it comes to people. Just do everything as if you are doing it unto God, and in the long run, when you need the help, God will actually touch the hearts of the right people to come in at the right time so that you can have a meaningful life. You cannot take charge without a solid plan or planning. Sometimes, even if you don't plan, things fall in place. When a solid plan with action meets divinity, then we have a miracle. And you agree with me that miracles don't happen always. You need to take charge of your life. You don't have to leave your life to chance. Plan your life, and I'm sure with all the needed action, you will see results. I want you to take charge of your life, because if we are all taking charge, everyone else is taking charge, society will become better. That will be all for now. Like, comment, and share so others can benefit. That will be all for now. See you in the next episode. Bye-bye.